So I decided to switch it up a little bit. I did film the vlog earlier. I'm going to do it this way because I actually had a pretty cool moment today. This is sort of bizarre. Maybe I'll wind out doing them. I'll probably do these separately, but do this first little bit. Talk about perspectives is probably more than anything what I would view it as. So I was over at my friend Ralph. He has the Comics and Paperbacks Plus Premiere. Ralph, that we do the fun with Ralph and John, or adventures, or whatever. I think it's fun with Ralph and John. It's all for the fun with Dick and Jane. But so he's gonna wind out helping me out with selling some of my comics and stuff like that. And Ralph's really been good to me amongst many different people. I think I empathize. My brain body would tell I'm like lispy and can't talk, but it's something that needs to be said. And I talk about people that have had such an impact on my life. You know, having gone through this struggle for the last coming up on 4 years now. There have been people that have really, really been kind. But so I'm in his shop, and we're going to look at some of the stuff that I had that I brought over, because I was actually able to drive today, and this is the first country road to take me home that I'm able to drive. And so there was a lady in there, and she was talking to him, and the voice sounded somewhat familiar, and she looked somewhat familiar, but I didn't get a look at her directly. And Ralph brought up, she was talking about, because Ralph has a number of the different really cool sort of paranormal ghost books and things like that. A lot of stuff on Bigfoot, which my sister loves. I got to buy one of those for her because she absolutely loves Bigfoot. Anything to do with Sasquatch Ania. But anyways, so she had mentioned about that. He's like, well, is the person that you're watching, because I do that series Haunted History, is it the Hometown Historian? She's like, well, no, it doesn't sound familiar. And then she gave the name of the guy, and then Ralph asked me if he was familiar, and it wasn't, because there's a lot of people that go out and do it. But you know, he was telling her about my channel and stuff like that, and then we got to talking, and I had heard her talk about that she lived in Myerstown for quite a while. And anyways, I said, yeah, well, I lived in Myerstown for about 15 years. And she said, well, whereabouts? I said, well, I lived on this corner of Locust and Carpenter Street. And she just sort of looked at me. She's like, I lived right there. We would have been there around the same time. Like I said, oh, it was from this time period, about 2020. And she's like, we were there till 2009. She talked about this big house, and they had a lot of kids. And then I said, like, what her maiden name had been. I think I didn't say it quite right. And I said, is that her name? And she's like, no, it was this. And I was like, you know, such and such. I said, I'm pretty sure I'm the guy that saved your husband's life. And it's a line you don't hear every single, well, you pretty much never hear, because you don't really think about it. You just sort of do what you got to do. And you know, she said to Ralph, like, Ralph, this is the man that saved my husband's life. And you know, it's something you have a proud moment, like, well, actually, I've done something all right with my life. But what happened, and this is one of those things, it's a reminder in that nothing happens by chance. I really believe that. I believe there's a plan. It's not coincidence. Things happen for a reason. You're in the right place at the right time. And back then, in 2009, I was still taking care of my dad, because I was sole caretaker for him for 8 years. And normally on Thursday evenings, I would go, after I was done working at Hershey, go take care of a bunch of different things there, spend 4 or 5 hours out there, and that's just how I spent my Thursday evenings. And that was one of the constants. Usually it was Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. Those were the days I was always out there. Something, I don't even remember what, but I was probably tired or whatever. I had a really long day at Hershey, and called him and just said, hey, is it okay if we switch to Friday? And he's like, yeah, nothing's going on, I'm good. So I wound up going home that evening, and I had turned the TV on to watch Comcast Sportsnet Philadelphia, big Philadelphia Eagles fan, Phillies and all that kind of stuff. And I thought I heard somebody say help, which you're thinking in of the moment it came from the TV, but it sort of weirded me out a little bit, where you get that sort of that your hairs raise up and just something tells you got to pay attention. So I muted the TV and then clearly heard it again after maybe about 30 seconds. So I quick ran out the door, ran out around the house, the front house, and then ran in between, and you couldn't see anything because it was dark. It was January 29th, I believe, of 2009, and all I could see is what looked like basically one of those lawn bags, like a large black lawn bag full of leaves, sort of crunched together. And then clearly I heard help, and I still, like, it goes through you, because it's just one of those moments in life that transcends anything else. And I hopped into action, ran over, took my sweatshirt off, put it on top of him. I didn't know exactly what happened, other than what he was able to communicate as he fell off his roof, and it was like 25 feet right on his head. So when something like that, anytime you have a neck injury or back injury, head injury, you don't move the person. You just don't do that. And called 911. He was communicating with me, and thankfully they got there within 2 minutes. And they were phenomenal. And then Lifeline, which is a helicopter lifeline service for Hershey Medical Center, and they were there maybe 10 minutes later, and it didn't look good. And the last I had heard about him is that he was in a lot of pain, had a lot of trouble doing things, and was sort of restricted to a degree to a wheelchair. But it just, with everything that happened and how nuts it was, they shortly after that, because her husband's needs were going to change, they wound up moving into a house that would fit his needs. So we never really got to talk. And I just sort of forgot about it, to be honest. And like I said, you sort of look at it, it's like you just do what needs to be done in the moment. You don't view it necessarily as, I saved this person's life or whatever. So I was a part of contacting the authorities and the people that needed to get there. Those are the people that saved his life. Those are the heroes in that way. And but after going through everything I've gone through, your perspectives sort of change. And it was sort of a moment where you get really proud. And I joke about, oh, I did something good in my life. But yeah, it's like, you did change what could have been a really, really rough situation, where you lose your father, you lose your husband. And because she said, and some of the people at the ambulance, I remember them saying, if you hadn't found them, because of how cold it was, there was a light bit of snow, like more crunchy ice falling off the roof type of stuff that was on the ground. But hypothermia would have set in shortly thereafter. Nobody knew he was out there. Nobody would have heard him unless somebody walked by, and even then they probably wouldn't have heard him. And how long till he would have lost consciousness? And it really changes the way you view things, and something I'm quite proud of. It was just sort of one of those, what are the chances of that? I happened to get the cast off today, happened to talk to Ralph, say, hey, do you want me to drop off some of these comics or whatever? And you meet somebody, and you remember saying to me, I've wanted to thank you for 14 years. My husband has wanted to thank you for 14 years. And it's a really, really cool moment in life. And I was happy to hear, as much as he's having the troubles that he has yet, because it's a severe thing, permanent damage that you have, but he's able to do most of the things that he needs to do. And it's I'll say it, my faith, that was totally meant to be, because if it had been like any other Thursday, I wouldn't have been there, and things would have turned out much differently, most likely. So I think it's just one of those lessons in life. It's a reminder that as bad as things get, moments like that remind us that there's something more to life, and we're meant to be in this world. We're meant to influence one another, meant to influence one another for good. We're meant to make this world a better place, and in some cases, inalterably change someone's life for the better. And sometimes that means saving a person's life. Because, like, to me, it's sort of like, I'm proud of what I did, and I handled it well and all that kind of stuff, but you don't view it as like the normal, like somebody running into a burning building or something of that nature. But at the end of the day, it is, what happened. And, pretty cool. Pretty cool, a reminder today of the preciousness of life, the reminder that life is fleeting and very fragile. And at times we're called to a higher purpose, and it's not us, it's that higher power that gets us where we need to be. So, pretty cool moment. Thought it was something cool to just share. And, I talked to my sister about it. Hopefully maybe we could figure something out. It's very hard to be able to transport Mom, but this lady absolutely adored Mom. So, at the very least, she will have the opportunity to go in and see Mom and be able to talk to her. But, hopefully we can get together to eat and talk and get to see him and her again. And just, it's cool how we have the opportunity at times. It's sort of thrust upon us that you have a moment where you just do what needs to be done, and the impact that makes, and how we might not give it a second thought, but I think you have come to the realization how much of an impact it had on them. And it really happened at a good time, because I talk about in the previous video my struggles with depression and things like that, and then you have the sort of the thing that hits you and like, yeah, it's okay, it's gonna be all right. As hard as it can be, there's good things have happened, good things are in store. You just keep on pressing on. So, but anyways, I thought I'd share that with you guys, just talk about that. It's sort of my history, but there's so much history like that, and that's the type of history that has the biggest impact. We talk about all these different things which are important, but it's the impact, I think, more than anything, is the legacy we leave, is the impact that we have on each other's lives, for good or for ill. And hopefully, more than anything, when we leave this world, we leave it better than the way we found it. And it's one of those life lessons that's sort of neat, sort of cool. But yeah, so hopefully we'll start having some videos coming out here. Clearly, it's 3:40, so I want to try to get out this video and the short vlog that I did earlier, and then I'll try to get the family or finding history video about the motorcycle man of Millersburg. Get that out, say tomorrow, and then try to get at least one of these videos. I want to go refilm at Ono's, because I have a little more idea of what I'm talking about. Because when I went there, I really didn't know anything. I hadn't gotten a chance to read the entire article that was in, it's called Seeds of History. Really, really cool article about the Jones family and about Daniel Jones. So I really didn't know much in and of the moment when I filmed, and so I'd like to go back and give it a little bit better, because I know who the people are now. because I had sort of a confusion of whether they were children of Daniel Jones or grandchildren, who Owen Jones, one of his two sons, was. Really, really cool article, and we're going to go through the entire thing. Thanks to Lebanon County Historical Society. Thanks to Moss Lady. Thank you to Mr. Bruce D. Bumberger, who's the archivist and librarian there at Lebanon County Historical Society, doing the good work of preserving history and really putting in the time and the research to find the information that, you know, verifies who this gentleman was and those types of things, about as close as you can, just because of what records were. And you're talking about 230 years of history. You know, things get lost in translations and whatnot. But also a big thank you to Mr. Gibble as well, caretaker at Mount Nebo Cemetery, for doing the research to find this notation next to Mr. Jones' grave marking, and talks about him being former slave of Thomas Jefferson. But those videos will all be coming out in the next couple days. Hopefully I can get out, do a couple shorts, get those going again. Maybe try to figure out what I want to do, why is it called that or whatever, and do some of that stuff and see where we go from there. But thank you as always. I'm almost back to where the mummy is, and go see her, tell her about this, which will make her very happy, because she always loved her so much as well and just adored her. And yeah, so cool. You never know what's going to happen on a given day. It really is. Life can be extraordinary. It can be this reminder of what was, what has been, and what matters. And that's really what life is about. It's those types of moments what matter, and really warms the heart and does all that. So, all right, cool. With that, I say thank you for coming along on whatever this is. It's not really a country roads take me home. It's sort of whatever it is. But thank you as always, and we will see you all about town.